She begins her story with a trembling breath, as if the words have been waiting years to escape. "People always thought I was lucky," she says softly, "because I married a man far younger than me. But they never saw the weight I carried inside." Her eyes move toward a distant memory, a memory of a woman who had once made peace with loneliness. After her first husband died, silence became her companion. She spent nights staring at the ceiling, wishing someone would simply ask if she was okay. Life felt dim, colorless, and painfully still. Friends tried comforting her, but grief was a stubborn shadow that refused to leave. Every room of her house reminded her of someone who wasn't coming back. Then whispers began. "You're still young enough to remarry, why stay alone?" But she wasn't searching for love. She was searching for peace. She had accepted that the world was moving on without her, until a moment arrived that changed everything. A moment she never expected at her age, when someone much younger looked at her not with pity, but with admiration. And from that unexpected spark, her story truly began. It happened slowly, like dawn creeping across a dark horizon. The young man wasn't someone she imagined would notice her. He was energetic, charming, and full of youthful confidence that almost made her nervous. He first met her at a community event, where she was helping arrange tables. He smiled and said, "You have a calming presence," and she didn't know how to respond. Compliments were rare in her world. Over the following weeks, they met casually, small conversations that turned into long discussions. He spoke to her with sincerity, not with the usual awkwardness people show toward widows. He asked about her dreams, her fears, her hobbies, and she began feeling something she thought she had lost forever: importance. He didn't care about the age difference. Whenever she mentioned it, he would laugh gently and say, "Age is a number. Connection is what matters." She tried resisting, telling herself it wouldn't work, but with him she felt seen, really seen, for the first time in years. His youthful warmth melted her emotional coldness, and before she realized it, she had already opened her heart to him. When he proposed, the world seemed to stop for a moment, and she whispered, "Yes," believing destiny had finally been kind to her. Their wedding was small but filled with genuine happiness. People stared, some with shock, others with judgment, but she ignored every whisper. She was glowing in a way she hadn't in decades. Her young husband held her hand tightly, as though promising the world that he truly meant every word of his vows. The first few months of their marriage felt magical. He made breakfast for her, teased her playfully, planned small surprises, and insisted they take evening walks together. She wasn't used to so much attention. It overwhelmed her in the most beautiful way. They would sit on the balcony late at night, sharing stories from their past. He would describe his dreams for the future: travel, a small house of their own, maybe even adopting a pet. For the first time, she felt like she had stepped into a fairy tale. The age difference didn't seem to matter. His presence made her feel younger, stronger, and capable of things she had long forgotten. She would catch herself smiling for no reason, humming while cooking, laughing more often. She thought she had finally found her happily ever after. Little did she know, every fairy tale eventually reveals its challenges. At first, the changes were so subtle she didn't even notice them. He would wake up early, ready to explore the day, while she felt her joints aching. He loved going out, meeting people, trying new activities, but she preferred slow mornings and familiar routines. He wanted long conversations, constant interactions, closeness at every moment, and she tried, truly tried, but her energy wasn't the same as his. Whenever she needed rest, he seemed confused. "Are you tired again?" he would ask, not out of anger but genuine lack of understanding. She would smile and say, "Just a little," hiding the exhaustion that came with age. Inside, she worried, what if he thinks I can't keep up? What if I disappoint him? The more she hid her discomfort, the more pressure she felt. She didn't want him to see her as weak, and so she pushed herself, ignoring her body's limits just to match his enthusiasm. She loved him deeply, but deep inside, an old fear began to rise, the fear of not being enough. And every time that fear whispered, it left behind a small crack in her heart, one that slowly widened without her noticing. The cracks eventually turned into quiet distance. He would come home excited, ready to share stories about his day, but she often looked too tired to respond with the same energy. She loved his youthful spark, but she also feared it. She feared he would one day compare her to women his age, women who didn't struggle with fatigue, who didn't worry about knees hurting after a walk, who didn't feel their breath shorten so quickly whenever she needed rest or asked for a quieter evening. He felt rejected. He would never say it directly, but the slight disappointment in his eyes stabbed her heart. She wanted to explain. But how does one describe the unchangeable truth of aging? She heard neighbors whispering, "This marriage won't last. He's too young for her, why would he stay?" These words sank into her chest like stones. Instead of talking to him, she withdrew into herself, believing silence would protect her. Meanwhile, he stayed confused, wondering why she had become distant. He tried cheering her up, but nothing changed. Both were hurting without understanding each other. She felt guilty. He felt unwanted. And like that, love slowly began losing its balance. One evening, after days of quiet tension, he finally spoke. His voice wasn't angry, just hurt. "Why don't you talk to me anymore?" he asked. "Why do you keep pulling away?" His question struck her like lightning. She tried staying calm, but months of pressure had weakened her. Tears gathered in her eyes. He continued, "You're not the same. You avoid everything we used to do together. Did I do something wrong?" That was the moment her heart gave up holding the weight. She broke down completely. Years of loneliness, months of pressure, constant insecurity. Everything came out at once. She told him about her exhaustion, her fear of not matching his energy, the guilt she felt every time she couldn't keep up. She confessed her biggest fear, that he would eventually leave her for someone younger, someone who could match him step for step. Her voice trembled as she said, "I'm not running from you. I'm running from the fear of losing you." He stood there stunned, realizing he had misunderstood everything. When he reached for her hand, she flinched, not from fear of him, but from fear of being unworthy. That night became the moment that changed everything between them. After hearing her truth, something shifted inside him. The disappointment in his eyes disappeared, replaced with regret and understanding. He sat beside her, held her trembling hands, and said gently, "I never wanted you to feel pressured because of me." He admitted he had been unaware of how deeply his expectations affected her. They talked for hours, truly talked, for the first time in months. He told her he didn't fall in love with her youth or physical ability. He fell in love with her kindness, wisdom, and the emotional peace she brought into his life. He explained that he admired her strength, not her stamina. Together, they made a new promise to walk at a pace that suited both of them, to communicate openly instead of silently suffering, and to value emotional closeness above everything else. She felt a weight lift from her chest, not because her age changed, but because he finally understood it. He learned to be patient. She learned to express her needs without shame. This new balance didn't erase their challenges, but it made them easier to face. Their marriage, once shaken, began to heal with gentle understanding and slow, steady love. As she reaches the end of her story, the elderly woman sits quietly, hands folded, eyes soft with wisdom. She says that age gap relationships don't fail because of years, they fail because of silence, expectations, and misunderstandings. Her journey taught her that love isn't about matching energy, youth, or speed. Love is about walking side by side, even when one person needs to slow down. She explains that in every relationship, especially with age differences, patience becomes the most important gift. She reflects on her fears, losing him, disappointing him, being replaced, and realizes now that those fears only grew because she kept them hidden. Had she spoken earlier, their suffering could have been avoided. But now, she speaks with quiet strength. Love, she says, isn't about perfection. It's about choosing the same person again and again. Even when life makes it difficult, her message to those listening is clear: communicate, understand, and never let silent fear destroy a bond that could have survived with a simple conversation. She ends with a gentle smile, saying, if two people are willing to understand each other, then no age difference, not even decades, can keep them apart.